Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very accomplished professional from London, UK, Kalpana Shah. Kalpana, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on this podcast. I'm delighted to be invited.
Thank you. Kalpana is a board chair. She's a portfolio non-executive director and immediate past president and founder of the IFoA board at the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries. She has, given the amount of work that she has done, she has received numerous accolades from the Institute of Directors, the Financial Times, Cranfield University, Insurance Insider, and the Brummel magazine. So, Kalpana, what an amazing amount of work you've done with so much diverse experience. My first question to you is, tell me a little bit about your own journey and what led you to a career in insurance in the actuarial industry.
I wasn't supposed to have a career growing up.
Okay.
The expectation was that I pursued education for fun, with the ultimate goal of getting married and raising a family. And while I did eventually get married and have children, my journey took many unexpected turns along the way. I started with a series of short-term jobs, working on the shop floor, taking telephone messages, performing in dance shows and TV work, even working on the trading floor at the London Commodity Exchange.
Wow.
I eventually moved into underwriting and ultimately became an actuary. I worked at a company for nearly 20 years where I thought I was at the pinnacle as group chief actuary and partner of a global insurer. I wanted to see what else life had in store and spend more time with my family. I believed I was finished being an actuary and made a very risky decision to leave my safe, lucrative, and high-profile job. But it turns out you never stop being an actuary.
Correct.
I've since gone on to explore new opportunities, embarking on yet another amazing chapter in my career, filled with adventure, luck, and breaking barriers.
Incredible.
But in hindsight, all of my early jobs, from the shop floor to performing in dance shows and working on the trading floor, have shaped my my distinctive personal brand, I guess. These varied experiences have made me stand out and allowed me to be seen as more than a stereotypical actuary. It's empowered me to branch out into new ventures with a broader and a more dynamic perspective.
Great response. Thank you. So let's talk about insurance and actuarial work. For my viewers and listeners, and for me, can you explain what is the role of an actuary in the insurance industry?
Well, I believe that actuaries are now the backbone of the insurance industry. They use mathematical, statistical, and financial theories to assess and manage risk. Actuaries are natural problem solvers. They draw insight from complexity. Their primary role is to evaluate the financial consequences of uncertain events, which help insurance companies set premiums, establish reserves, and remain financially stable. By analyzing data, actuaries ensure that policies are priced fairly and that companies can meet future claims. Increasingly, we're seeing actuaries involved in strategy and working in the C-suite as well.
Interesting. And Kalpana, given all the years that you spent in the insurance industry, what are some of the biggest challenges the industry faces today?
The insurance industry has always faced challenges. It deals with risk and uncertainty. But today's challenges, I think, we're seeing lots of challenges from climate change, the rise in natural disasters, with cyber threats, and evolving regulation. Economic uncertainty and inflation are putting pressure on profitability, while changing customer expectations, they demand more. They demand more personalized and digital solutions. And insurers must manage the impact of emerging risks like pandemics as well.
Well said. And, my next question is relating to technology. Technology has pervaded our lives everywhere. I wanted to ask you, what impact has technology had on your profession and insurance?
Well, we've seen technology over the last century. It's revolutionized the actuarial profession. It's enabled us to process vast amounts of data more efficiently, allowing more accurate risk assessments. Automation and AI have streamlined routine tasks, allowing actuaries to focus on more strategic work. In the insurance industry, technology has led to the rise of insurtech, with innovations like telematics, predictive analytics, and personalized policies. So it's an evolving journey, but one that we're quite used to in a way.
And you mentioned a few minutes back that actuaries actually help in risk management. Can you explain or give us an example of how actuaries can help manage risk for the insurance industry?
Yeah, they're crucial to risk management in the insurance sector. They analyze potential risks associated with the insurance products. They ensure that companies remain financially solvent. By calculating probabilities and forecasting future claims, actuaries help companies prepare for financial contingencies, and they maintain profitability while minimizing potential losses. So it's an A to Z, really.
Okay. And when it comes to regulatory compliance, what role do actuaries play?
They're ensuring that companies comply with legal standards concerning reserves, capital requirements, and solvency. And actuaries are also helping with reporting and implementing regulatory frameworks such as Solvency II and IFRS 17, and helping insurers manage their financial stability.
Okay. What are some of the analytics that actuaries look for, and how does this assist or aid insurance companies in decision making? And if there's a case study or an example you can share without any names, of course, that would help.
Well, it's fundamental in our actuarial work. We rely on data-driven insights to assess risk, to determine pricing and future risk, future claims. So by leveraging predictive models and statistical methods, actuaries can make informed decisions that help insurance companies stay competitive. Advanced analytics is increasingly used to identify trends and reduce uncertainties and enhance decision making. And it's all over the place. So I could pick many examples, but what I would say is in the UK, the actuarial profession really started by looking at life, looking at data, looking at mortality tables to assess how long people would live, what their circumstances are in life. And as I'm talking to somebody based in India, I will say that's a new challenge. In India, there's a lack of relevant life tables, and a big initiative that I think is something that could get underway. The government presumably has a lot of data on stats on mortality, stats on people. Leveraging that data, finding a way to get that data in a format, putting it into a format that we can use, will really help us provide tools, provide products to help the people. And that's what it's about, really.
And I guess the actuarial work would differ in different countries, different cultures, different nationalities. Is that right? Or my assumption is wrong?
No, I think it does. I think the core skills you learn are transferable. We're problem solvers. We're learning how to price data. We're learning how to set set reserves aside for the future. We're learning capital modeling, we're learning risk assessment. So there's a core that's transferable. But some countries are more mature, have more mature insurance markets. They would have been doing this for many years. Certain products would be more relevant. Other countries are building up that insurance framework. They're looking at, and certain countries will look at crop agriculture more. It will be around the product. Some people will be more interested in general insurance because they're driving that as a future market. Others have got sophisticated pensions or looking at health service. So it depends what your population needs, what your country needs right now. And that's where the biggest, it doesn't mean the other areas aren't looked at, but it's where that country's making a push. You know, many countries are looking at providing better health service, better health tools and products. So it's around country specific. So actuaries can adapt, but you know, the local actuaries will probably know their market better. But having said that, there is a good market for getting that international perspective as well. So I think that's the great bit, that we work almost collaborate internationally, work, share knowledge, but then you know, we all know our own markets perhaps a little bit better.
Right. But the other aspect, Kalpana, is, you know, life expectancy. I mean, people say life expectancy in India is so much. For men, it is so much. For women, it is so much. In Japan, it may be 100 years. You know, how does, you know, this kind of general information or data impact actuarial work in different countries?
Well, we've got to look at, you do look at data, but you look at trends. We've seen the life mortality change so much in the UK over the last couple of centuries. But it's not just about whether you're going to live longer. It's whether you're going to live happier, whether you're going to live healthier. So each of those requires something else. One thing is to live long, but if you're not healthy, you need to provide differently. It might be more call or medical science. There's also culturally, you know, controversially, women live longer when they're not married. And men live longer when they are. And you have to look into this. It's not a straight line like that. So there'll be certain things, and as cultures and change, those dynamics might change. So you have to look at trends. It's actually, when you go into the skin of it, it's quite interesting.
Absolutely.
There's quite a lot of detail. So there's no one size fits all. So it's a continuous learning.
Very well said. Thank you. My next question for you is that, you know, what are some new trends you are seeing that are emerging in the insurance industry, and how will this impact actuarial work?
Trends. Well, people want personalized insurance. People want much more, especially in the UK where it's quite established and products are already there. They want things that cover them specifically, tailor-made. Also, usage-based models are emerging. So not the annual, here's an annual policy. You might want it for a few hours. You're borrowing a car. I want insurance for a few hours. You know, it's much more real time. While you've got data, you can write a policy quicker. You can assess it quicker. So everything gets quicker. You don't have that whole inertia of time. You've got how are we going to respond to environmental challenges? That will require different thinking as well. And the growing use of AI and big data is changing. So looking at risk assessment and how you engage with the customers, people want to feel special. So, you know, we adapt. Something new, rebranded. Sometimes it's just rebranding, you'll know that. And sometimes it's a fundamental change. Sometimes it's the government. I think also internationally, the world is smaller. People communicate quicker. So if one country is doing something, the other country wants to know why they're not. So things move that way as well.
Correct. Well said. But the other aspect, Kalpana, is that insurance is a very highly regulated industry in almost every country. How does the regulatory framework for insurance impact your kind of work?
Heavily, in a word. When I started my career, I went into general insurance when it wasn't very regulated. Um, it's great fun working in a very not regulated environment. Having said that, it's great fun, but you need ethical people, you need professional people, you need skilled people and experienced people. The insurance market is big, and we need to it's a safety net for our customers. If you think about it, the primary reason for this business is to provide safety for our policyholders. And we need to give them that assurance, or the government needs to give them that assurance that they are doing everything they can to make the company still be there in 50 years or whenever they need to pay a claim, that they're not tricking them, all of these things. But it adds a big layer of complexity. It adds costs. So you've got to balance it as well. So whilst you're doing stuff to make the end customer have a better product, in a way it does add to their cost because of all this regulation. So there has to be a sort of balancing act. What is right? But it does mean that you need very analytical data. There's a lot of jobs around that regulation. I think the world will become more consistent in its regulation. A few years ago, there was a big push around evidence-based regulation. I think the world, rightly so, is more moving to principles-based. You need professionals you can trust. You can't prescribe everything. And if you've got professionals that you can trust, then it's about the principle. Are we doing the right thing? Rather than have we followed a checklist of things? Because with a checklist, there'll be always a loophole.
Correct.
But with principles, you've got to do ethics and integrity. And I think that sort of regulation is where the real add value is.
And the actuarial profession is an old profession, and yet it is modernizing completely with insurance modernizing and technology coming in. So my question is, how can actuaries stay ahead of the curve in terms of innovation and technological advancement?
Well, it's like all professions. If you do not keep up, you die.
Yeah.
Right? And actuaries, I don't think they're defined by the word actuaries. We're all people. We're all got different interests. And it's actually just remembering that. So continually developing your skills in data science, AI, machine learning. But we need to keep up with regulatory changes and emerging risks such as cyber threats. But we should also really embrace lifelong learning and explore interdisciplinary collaboration to drive innovation with our organizations and with other organizations as well. As AI takes the drudge out of the day-to-day, out of the simple things, we will all be left with problem solvings, hopefully, the higher end. All professions will be sort of thinking, where am I adding value? So those are the bits. So it's working with them. Maybe we'll all be doing similar things in the future. I don't know. But to keep up, we all have to have that spirit of adapt and change.
Well said. So I have time for two more questions, Kalpana. My next question is, can you share a significant achievement in your career that you are particularly proud of?
Oh, this is an interesting thing. In my career I don't know if it is doing brilliantly in my job, in specific tasks or anything. I'm not sure it's that or any specific achievement. It might be actually bringing the ethics and the integrity and talking about it and making a difference. It's actually pushing that. It's not about like this project, it was brilliant. Oh, I led this. We all do things like that.
Right.
Are we proud? Are we proud to tell our children this is what we've done? Have we left something that we can say, look, I did it this way? Maybe it's the way of doing it. Bringing people on board, bringing different views, allowing people to have different opinions, being fair. I think for me, those things are worth more than the individual projects. It's creating an environment where people are raised, you profile people, you bring people forward. Maybe I'm looking to make my children proud.
Well said. And my last question to you, Kalpana, and this is for the many, many people who will listen to our conversation. What advice would you give to a young professional who wants to make a career in the field of actuary or on actuarial work?
I think they should focus on building strong technical skills in statistics, maths, and programming, which is the core. Yeah. But beyond that, they need to develop communication and business acumen. You know, at the end of the day, if you want to progress, people need to you're going to have to interact with non-actuaries. You're going to have to interact with other people. You're going to have to explain quite complicated terms to other people. So learning those skills is really, really important. But just being curious, explore new fields beyond traditional insurance. I think some say life is too short, but life is also too long to be doing the same thing again and again. And, so just look at different things after a while, look at new opportunities. Networking and mentorship are really good as well. People will often call people they know. It's more difficult to take a risk on people they don't know. And having people who've been there before who can support you, give you ideas of how, if you're stuck or you want to have an idea of where to go. I think these are really important things to help you in the future.
Well said.
A top thing is also resilience. You're not going to do everything right first go. Get used to having a go and not succeeding and then getting up and standing up again. I think that's probably the most important thing. Everyone you see doing well has made a lot of mistakes along the way.
Correct. And on that note, Kalpana, and your 5 amazing thoughts for young people: build technology skills, communication is critical, but also have strong business acumen, look at new opportunities, network and mentorship is very important. And your last one, which is so important, is to build resilience to succeed. Thank you, Kalpana, for speaking to me about your journey. Thank you for speaking to me at such length about insurance and actuary work, which from my perspective was something new. I learned many, many new things from you in our conversation today. Thank you for speaking to me, and good luck to you.
Thank you. It's been an absolute delight having this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.